Let's talk politics right now. If you were John McCain, who would you fire right now? Because he's in trouble based on all these polls.
Well, John McCain's very interesting because during the primary, it looked like he was over. And he came back, and he came back so strongly, and it was very impressive. So I don't think I'd fire anybody, but I'd hire John McCain. I'd get back to doing what he does best. And he really did an amazing job in the primary. It looked like he had no chance. It was literally over. And I remember a scene of him walking into a commercial airplane carrying his own bags, actually pulling his bags. And I said he ought to just give up because, you know, it's not going to work. And then after that, he started doing fantastically well. So he has to get back to being John McCain. And I think if he does that, he'll do very well.
Because the big difference between then, when he was written off for dead politically, and now is that there's less than 3 weeks to go. There's not a whole lot of time.
Well, I think maybe the bigger difference is that he's being blamed for a Bush economy. And I'm not sure that he should be blamed for it because he's one of 100 people, and then you also have, you know, Congress generally. But he seems to be blamed for the economy. It's not his fault.
He's a Republican, and Bush is a Republican.
That's it.
That Republican brand is in trouble right now.
Well, the Republican brand certainly is in trouble. He's a good man. I know him very well. He's a very smart guy. He's a tough guy. I think he'd be a great president. But he has to be John McCain, and he could still probably pull it out, but it's going to be tough.
So give him some more advice tonight. What do you want to see him specifically do when it comes to issue number one, the economy?
Well, he has to talk economy. He has to see the best thing that could happen to him if the economy turned around. Unfortunately, I'm not sure that it is turning around. Lots of money has been thrown at the banks, but let's see what happens. The stock markets have reacted unbelievably well for 2 days, and now all of a sudden they're back in their malaise. But he has to come up with plans, and not political plans, real plans, and they have to be very, very economy-based. I think the economy seems to be weighing down everything. You know, at one point, you would have thought the war was a huge negative for McCain. He's made that into a positive, which is hard to believe, actually. But he's made that into a positive. He has to do the same thing with the economy. Don't forget his tax cuts and the other things. I don't know if people know what's going on, but he is offering tremendous tax cuts, whether it's capital gains or other things. And he has to let people know that.
And the notion that he's advancing is that those tax cuts, including for big corporations, for the wealthy, will trickle down and will help stimulate, create jobs, and get the economy going again. Although a lot of people are suspicious because that's been the theory of 8 years of the Bush presidency.
But history has proven that to be the case. And the Bush presidency didn't go down because of low taxes. It went down because of deals that were made on Wall Street that were horrendous deals for this country, and actually, as it turns out, for the world.
Who's to blame for that?
Bush is not to blame. I mean, I am certainly, as you know very well, not a fan of Bush, but he's not to blame for that. That was not policy. This was a bunch of people, primarily on Wall Street or the banking community, that tried to take advantage of a situation, and guess what? It didn't work out too well.
So you're having no second thoughts about endorsing John McCain?
No, I'm loyal to him. I know him. See, I don't know Obama. I have great respect for Obama. I have great respect. And from the job, really the job he's done, to come from nowhere and to be running for president and to be leading in the polls. And I have great respect for Joe Biden. So, you know, it's not that, but I just don't know them. I know John McCain. I know he's a good man. I think he'd be a very good president.
Would you trust Sarah Palin, the governor of Alaska, the Republican vice presidential nominee, to take charge of an economic crisis in this country?
Well, I can only go by the people of Alaska. She's got the highest rating in the whole United States as being the most popular governor. Another great governor, a friend of mine, is Charlie Crist. He's got a very high rating, too. Sarah Palin has a very, very high approval rating from the people of Alaska, 84, 85%.
Let me rephrase the question then. Would you trust Sarah Palin to be in charge of the economy right now?
Do we have a choice? I think the answer is yes. I met her recently. I was very impressed with her. The people of Alaska, who really are the people that know her, they think she's fantastic. Again, she's the highest rated governor in the United States.
So the answer is yes, you would trust her?
I would trust her, yes.
To deal with this economic crisis, the enormity, something that we haven't seen, some say, since the Great Depression?
Well, look at what other people have been doing, and they had a lot of experience, and they're the ones that got us into this mess. Maybe you need less experience.
If
the fact is, well, on your show 2 years ago, I said we were going to go into a depression, if you remember that. And your friends over at Fox, Neil Cavuto, who I know you don't want me to mention, but I might as well because he mentioned it, he said the only one that actually mentioned the word depression 2 years ago was Donald Trump.
Do you still think we're going towards a depression as opposed to a long and deep recession?
They're throwing a lot of money at it. That was something that nobody knew. That's sort of changing the rules.
$700 billion.
And I think they did a very good thing in doing that. But you know, $700 billion is not very much relative to the trillions of dollars that we're talking about. But they're throwing a lot of money at the banks, and they're doing it properly, and I think that probably keeps us out. But I do think we're in a pretty major recession. You have people that don't even think we're in a recession. I'm saying, where are they coming from? We're in a pretty deep recession, and probably it'll be on that way for a while.
And you think it'll actually move towards a depression along the lines?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mentioned that as a possibility 2 years ago on your show. I don't think so, but certainly it's not good times.
If Hillary Clinton had been the Democratic nominee as opposed to Barack Obama, would you have endorsed her or John McCain?
Well, I'd rather not say because I don't have to worry about that. But Hillary's a great friend of mine. Her husband is a great friend of mine. They're fantastic people. I mean, you know the thing, they get a bad knock. She's a very nice woman. People think tough, and I guess she's tough, but she's a very nice woman, and he's a very nice guy. We know all about the smarts and how smart they are, but they are good people.
At the debate tonight, would it be smart for John McCain to raise the issue of William Ayres, the 1960s Weather Underground radical? Would that be a smart strategy on his point?
I really don't know. I think it's better if he keeps it really positive and talks about what he's going to do for the economy, what he's going to do about the war, what he's going to do with OPEC and oil prices, because ultimately it's going to be about OPEC. Oil
prices are going down right now.
Well, they're going down, but they're still at numbers that, other than for the last 6 months, they're the highest in the history of the world. You know, at $78
So you wanted to take the high road. You think that's better, that's more genuine for John McCain as opposed to doing a little bit more attacking?
Well, I think William Ayres has been aired out quite a bit already. I think people are hearing about it, and it's a long time ago. And I would rather see him talk about the economy, talk about the war, talk about OPEC, and what you're going to do to get the oil prices
down. I know
down.
you like John McCain, but is there anything specifically about Barack Obama you don't like?
I have great respect for Barack Obama. I don't know him well enough to say I like or don't like, but I have great respect for what he's done, from where he's come from in terms of this election. I mean, he was given no chance, and all of a sudden he's the nominee, and he beat some very formidable people. I have great respect for him.
You said you met Sarah Palin. Where did you meet her?
I met her last night at the Grand Hyatt Hotel, which I built.
Here in New York?
In New York, and they were having a big fundraiser, a Republican fundraiser, and she was very impressive, and her husband was very impressive. I met them both last night.
What was so impressive?
I just think the demeanor, the stature, I was very impressed with both of them.